fucking gun? Where's my gun? Oh yeah, that's the stuff.
You're such a LARPer, man.
What?
Do you always have to LARP at the range?
Back on the range, this time with a new can. Another 3D printed DMLS manufactured suppressor on the market. This is the Dillon Rifle Company DRC556. This can's made some noise because it's pretty unique looking. I'd almost say they went the route of that Gucci, Louis Vuitton vibe. I'm not sure if that's what they were going for, but that's how I feel about it. Dillon Rifle Company is a sister company founded in the early 2020s, in that time frame. Sister company to Dillon Aero and Dillon Precision. You've probably heard at least of Dillon Precision if you're in the shooting world, and Dillon Aero being heavily involved in many things, most notably of which is the Dillon Aero, I don't know the part number, minigun. They make miniguns and they outfit helicopters with cool stuff. So kind of the heritage of Dillon Rifle Company. They're out here trying to make waves in the suppressor market with some new technology, but also some familiar technology at this point. So the DRC556 is pretty interesting in the fact that obviously it's DMLS manufactured. They've grown it bottom up or top down. I'm not sure which direction they print, honestly, but this can utilizes the infamous PIP technology that you may have heard before in some other suppressors such as PTR. So PIP, purposely induced porosity. What you're going to see is that here in the front of the can, you can see a little bit of that iconic minigun inspiration with the 6 fake barrels there in the front of the can. But what you'll also see is that PIP technology in action, a metallic sponge. You know, it doesn't compress like a sponge, but what it does is it lets the air, the gas flow, move through the can through some very scientific methods that I actually really am not smart enough to tell you about. Reduces back pressure and optimizes gas flow, bypass movement in the can in a way that makes for a pretty pleasurable shooting experience, so I'm told. We're gonna get our first shots on this can here today. So quick background, the can is 5.4 inches long. It's printed out of 718 Inconel and it's 1.75 inches in diameter. Okay. And the can weighs 15 ounces with no mount. For a can of this size, of this profile, I would say that's pretty impressive. Holding it in my hand, you know, I don't know the weight of every single can that we deal with here on a day-to-day basis. We handle a lot of cans. Phrasing. Here on this gun, 11.5, fully presented. I've definitely had cans on this gun where I can feel that weight at the end of the muzzle. But with this one, this feels very balanced. Let's go shoot it. So we're gonna run my first shots through this can. I don't know what to expect. I've honestly got some pretty high expectations, both with the price tag, $1,500 MSRP, and the fact that it looks so cool. But by going after those two things, I'm expecting a lot. So. No ears. Don't do this at home. Well, I can tell you this. It definitely sounds as good as it looks. That's impressive. The company claims 34 and change decibel reduction. Generalized, I'm not a big fan of single readings, you know, peak decibel readings. Pew Science is doing a really good job providing a bigger scope of a picture in terms of suppressor performance, impulse, a lot of metrics going on there. However, I will say, in general, if you've watched our other videos, our opinions that we give here, which that's really what they are, this isn't science, this is science between you and I, as Garrett called it. We generally tend to align pretty closely with what Jay over at Pew Science finds. This can, based off of what I can hear here, this can's a performer. So this is back-to-back time. You know, in our last video, our last Space Age 556 comparison, basically where we compared a bunch of DMLS 3D printed 556 cans, my opinion came out on top was the Ventum 556. Kind of an amalgamation of a good price point and very good performance, especially compared to some of the other competitors on the market. What we're gonna do now is take the Ventum 556 and directly compare it against the DRC556. Both of these are carbine length 11.5 inch 556 hosts. They both sound really good. What one sounds better over there?
The Dillon
Really?
has a quieter tone, not as cracky.
From my ear, I am struggling to see I want to say their tones are slightly different. From the shooter's perspective, you know, there's different ways to test silencers. You have shooter's ear, you know, bystander, right off the muzzle, different ways to test it. From my ear, I'm struggling to really find a big difference. I've devised a way that I think we can test it. Okay, so let me explain to you what I just did. It's pretty complicated. I shot both guns slightly further away from my face on each side of my body to eliminate bias from where the ejection port is. On both of those, I think the Dillon can edges out by just a hair. Obviously that's just sound performance. There's different variables. You have weight, you have cost, and size of the can and material of the can. And in both of those regards, these cans differ greatly. So my closing thoughts for this video is that I am very impressed with the Dillon can. Yes, in my opinion, the performance of these two cans is pretty similar, but take a look there. The Dillon can, with usable length, not including the mount, is about at least 2 inches shorter than the Hugs can. So where that leaves us with this can is that yes, it's expensive. I'm not gonna tiptoe around that. If you want the absolute best performance, this is probably that can. Prior to shooting this can, in my opinion, the Ventum 556 was not only some of the best value for what you were paying, but was probably the best performing 556 can on the market in terms of overall performance, also being a lower back pressure option. Now, having shot the Dillon, I think the Dillon takes the gold medal for that performance crown. But like in many industries, if you want the best, you're gonna have to pay for it. As a computer nerd, the graphics card industry.
Nerd alert!
If you want the 5090 right now, you're gonna pay for it. If you want a better value option that still has adequate or even good performance, you're going to get more units of performance, whether that's decibels or frames per second in a video game per dollar, when you go with slightly stepped down tier option. And in this case, I think that's kind of how this industry is shaking up. Now, is that for the better? I don't know. I guess that's for the consumer to decide. Is it worth it? Do you want the best performance? And are you willing to pay for it? And that's the Dillon DRC556.
Oh God, this is fire.
That's what they were going for, but that's how I kind of out. I'm not sure if that's what they were going for, but that's can't even speak. Move through the can in a way that through some very scientific methods that I actually how much does it weigh? 11.5. Holding it in the hand, I can definitely tell I've felt heavier things in my hand.
Hey, is your name James?